Hi, this is Chico Resch. You are listening to the Let's Go Devils podcast on the Primetime Radio Network.
Happy Devils Tuesday. This is Game Day Live, coming to you live from the Primetime Radio Studios inside the bunker in an undisclosed location in beautiful New Jersey. And somewhere in North America, in his automobile, it's Vinnie Parise of pucksandpitchforks.com, streaming live on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, X Live, and Twitch on the Let's Go Devils Network. Sorry, folks, that we're expecting me to be at American Whiskey, but life happens, and I had a little bit of what we call emergency, and I had to head the other way, but I'm back in the studios because with this podcast, the Let's Go Devils podcast, Vinny, if there was a nuclear disaster, there would be three things left on this earth. There will be cockroaches, there will be taxes, and then there will be the Let's Go Devils podcast and Game Day Live, Devils After Dark, all the podcasts, State of the Fan Address, At the Point, all that. It doesn't get better than that.
No, I mean, it would take a lot for this show to get canceled. I mean, for even just one game. Yeah. Especially a day where the New Jersey Devils enter a game against the Boston Bruins with a chance to clinch a postseason berth by earning one singular point. It's always more fun to win into the playoffs than to lose into the playoffs or not be idle when you clinch a playoff spot. A unique opportunity to win your way into the playoffs here tonight against the Bruins, who are 1-8-1 in their last 10 games.
So just to talk to the people on YouTube Live, Anthony Lopena says, good evening, Sam Wu, from myself and Tori, and also my boy Maverick. I'll say hello. I will be meeting Anthony Lopena Friday, April 11th, for Devils take on the Pittsburgh Penguins. Promise is promise, so I'm getting my emergencies out of the way right now. Sorry I can't be there on American Whiskey. Also, am I correct on this, Vinny, that the magic number is 1 point right now?
You are correct. If the New Jersey Devils get 1 point tonight, there will be a big old X next to their name in the standings. They will have clinched a postseason berth. And I believe that means they clinched third in the Metropolitan Division because the New York Rangers are the team that they needed to lose in order to make the magic number one. No team from the Atlantic can obviously catch them in that spot. So I believe they will lock themselves into a playoff series with the Carolina Hurricanes by earning 1 point.
So simply going into overtime tonight will get them in.
Yep. And the Bruins are bad. But the Bruins' one win in their last 10 is a 5-1 drubbing of the previously mentioned Carolina Hurricanes on Saturday.
Wow. So the Boston
had
Bruins
a hat trick. They were looking good.
So the Boston Bruins really threw the towel in. I didn't think they were that out of it. I just thought they weren't. The fans, the uproar, having Marchand traded, who he really wanted to stay. Now the Bruins fans are probably going to be watching the Florida Panthers. They're probably going to be pissed off at ownership. They're going to be, I mean, boy, it looks like they're heading towards a rebuild, which, I don't know, only a couple years ago they were making history. They fired Jim Montgomery early in the season. It looks like the Blues are just absolutely eating that up right now with Jim Montgomery at the helm. I mean, if you're going to break it down, you might as well destroy the entire roster and just tank it at this point. Is this going to be a big rebuild, or are they going to be reloading?
It's hard to say a rebuild when you have a goalie locked in for 7 more years. One who's having a bad year but was elite before this bad year. I mean, Jeremy Swayman was a wonderful goaltender from the start of his career, basically replacing Tuukka Rask in the bubble, or after the bubble, and up until this year. Charlie McAvoy is a legitimate Norris caliber #1 defenseman. and David Pastrnak is one of the best scoring wingers in the National Hockey League. They're weak down the middle. Pavel Zacha is probably their best center. We all know him. They traded Charlie Coyle for Casey Middlestat at the trade deadline. You previously mentioned they traded Brad Marchand to the Florida Panthers. Bruins fans are going to be rooting for the Florida Panthers in the playoffs because if they go to the conference finals, the Bruins' second round pick that they got for Marchand becomes a first round pick. So that's going to be crazy to see how that unfolds. It's hard to see them retooling with elite players locked into big term contracts, but outside of those few elite players that they have, it is thin. You're going to see a lot of names in Bruins jerseys tonight that you don't recognize too much. It will be Jeremy Swayman in net going against Jacob Markstrom, so that'll be an interest. That's a good goalie duel. Three Four Nations guys that didn't play. Swayman because he was the third string, Markstrom because he got hurt right before. But yeah, it's definitely a different type of Bruins team. I'm very annoyed. I don't love what Don Sweeney has done lately. He's been a notoriously poor high round drafter. He's done okay in the later rounds of the draft, but in the early rounds, I mean, Jake DeBrusk is probably, I think McAvoy might have been right before Sweeney got there. So McAvoy counts if he was there, then he's the best guy. But like that one year where they had 3 in a row, they took Senyshyn, Zaboral, who played with the Devils for a spell after becoming basically a bust, and DeBrusk. DeBrusk's a good middle six forward, but 3 straight picks, and all you get is one good middle six forward. And Shabbat, Kyle Connor, Matt Barzal, they were all on the board still. That's tough. I just don't think they've done that good done well drafting in the most recent years. And Bergeron retires, Krejci retires. Underrated part about them retiring, a lot of the times when big high-end scorers like that, good two-way, Selke, future Hall of Famer like Bergeron, normally when guys like that retire or get traded, you free up a ton of cap space. That didn't happen with those two guys. They were on league minimum contracts, basically, for veteran minimum contracts because of their age and their situation. Krejci coming back from Czechia after taking a year off. It's not surprising that the Bruins are where they are. The Devils need to take advantage. They destroyed them last time they played a couple weeks ago.
Survey says, funny how Shesterkin and Swayman wanting all that money are struggling the most. Also, you can add in, it's a hit or a miss. Connor Hellebuck is having a banner of a year. I mean, he's been unstoppable. I mean, the only blemish on his record this season is losing in that Four Nations game in the finals. But other than that, I mean, he's been unbelievable since he signed that contract. And, with goalies, it's a hit or miss. The problem is with goalies is if you're missing and you have a thing called the salary cap, it's hard to get around that. Shesterkin, I'm telling you, I was yelling at this at the Devils-Rangers game from Section 5 the other day, holding up the burrito, the infamous burrito that I buy, and somehow we win. We get goals. But that contract that Shesterkin has is awful. It is, you talk about dead weight. I mean, that is an anchor. That is an anchor and a half. And really, if you think about it, teams that have won the Stanley Cup, with the exception of the Tampa Bay Lightning, and this is no knock on Bobrovsky, really, do you really need that elite big money goaltender to win the Stanley Cup? I mean, you look at Adin Hill, he got a big contract. He came out of nowhere. Jordan Binnington back in 2019 came out of nowhere. Montreal Canadiens, I believe during the bubble, COVID, make up the rest of the season. I mean, they got far. Were they with Carey Price or no? Who were they?
I think they did have Price late in his career that year.
Yeah, but really, with goaltenders, it's who gets hot towards the end of the season. And what kind of team do they have defensively who's going to show up in that first round, and can they sustain that over 4 rounds? Again, there's just, with all the analytics out there, Vinny, I think it boils down to emotion and team chemistry that really gets you through the playoffs, because the playoffs are brutal, and you're never going to be playing 100%. It's just how you play when you're 60% and getting results when it counts. That's what makes a playoff run, a playoff team.
Yeah, and Swayman's having a bad year, but like McAvoy's hurt, Hampus Lindholm is hurt. The forwards on Boston are not as defensively sound. He needs to bounce back. There's no doubt about it. He also doesn't make $11 million like Igor Shesterkin does, with Fox and Keandre Miller and a bunch of pretty good defensemen playing in front of him. The team, Igor, he deserves a lot of blame for what's going on with the New York Rangers, especially at $11 million and the stink he made over his contract. And that's just not me being a Rangers hater saying that either. That's like a legitimate problem, and I think sometimes overpaying goalies can really hurt teams. Vasilevsky and Bob, I think they're few and far between in terms of examples of goalies who are considered elite. I mean, both of them are going to go to the Hall of Fame. They've both won multiple Vezina trophies. But you brought up Adin Hill. I remember Darcy Kemper when he won the Stanley Cup with Colorado. I mean, these guys are good goalies. They're okay. They're fine. I'd be cool with having them. Jacob Markstrom's certainly better than both of them, in my opinion.
Yep.
And Markey's been real good lately. He struggled a little bit coming back from injury, but before that, he was probably my third place Vezina guy. He'll probably still get top 10 votes. Article coming out on, Devils individual accolades that could be coming their way, or at least vote getting in that for Pucks and Pitchforks coming up here in a couple days. But goaltending's so weird, and you need it to win. If your guy's not playing well, you're not going to win. But you just need your guy to step up when it matters most. Everybody's going to write off the Devils when they get to the playoffs, and maybe rightfully so. Also, maybe not rightfully so. If Jacob Markstrom gets hot and Hischier, Bratt, and Meyer continue their strong play offensively with Luke Hughes on the back end, it's not a lock that the Devils are just going to get their doors blown off in the playoffs. Am I going to pick Carolina to win in my bracket that involves money? I probably will, because they are going to win. They're going to have a home ice advantage by 10 points. But you need goaltending to show up when it matters most, and that's been the case a lot for a lot of teams this season. And you brought up Hellebuck in the Four Nations face-off. I mean, it was a 2-2 game going into the overtime, and Connor McDavid, pretty much everyone who has a brain who watches hockey would say he's the best player on ice.
That wasn't Hellebuck's fault.
No, not at all.
You
leave McDavid wide open in the slot, Marty Brodeur in his prime allows a goal.
Unfortunately, it was an icing. There should have been an icing.
Correct.
And it left Jack Hughes and that line out there. And from the start, I knew, and I said to Mrs. Wu, Canada's going to score. It's a mismatch. Yep. Can we call a timeout?
And Austin Matthews,
go ahead.
He made a mistake. Matthews is a very good defensive player. He could win a Selke trophy in his career. I know it's few and far between, but he made a mistake on the play. And Jack Hughes kind of did too, but he was going to cover the point. Matthews' guy was McDavid, and he was wide open. I mean, it's a fact. He was wide open.
Yeah. A lot of people talking about Jack Hughes not being – look, Jack Hughes, his goal is to recover. And I remember when Patrick Ewing got injured in the playoffs, in the middle of the playoffs, and Patrick Ewing never winning an NBA championship. And there was everybody was down. And he basically, as a leader of the New York Knickerbockers, he basically told Latrell Sprewell, Chris Childs, Marcus Camby, Larry Johnson, he said, go get my ring. And that's the mentality that Jack Hughes needs right now. He has to be the biggest cheerleader. He has to be involved. He's got to work on himself. We're not praying for a miracle that he can come back Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals. No, we value Jack long-term and his health and all that, and that surgery. Look, this team, and I said this on Ace's podcast, Running with the Devils. We had that Trey Matthews and the other guy, Danny, on as well with Ace. I felt that this was a blessing in disguise when Jack got hurt, because now the team has to come together. They have to play that team concept. None of this individual stats, whatever, analytics, whatever. It's all about playing as a team. Mistakes are going to happen. Do you have your teammates back when your teammate has a miscue? Even with Simone Nemitz, if he coughs up the puck, somebody should have his back. Doesn't matter. You're only as good as your weakest link. In the playoffs, you will get exposed. I'm a true believer that this team is now, I think, as a whole, better without Jack Hughes. And it's not a knock on Jack Hughes, because they're learning how to play that team concept, because they have no choice right now. And then when they get Jack Hughes back in the lineup next season, now it's supercharged. It is elite at that point.
100%. You learn a little bit this year, and then you just drop Jack Hughes right in the middle of it to start next season. Starts tonight against the Bruins. Hopefully they get it done.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what, Timo Meier? I have video of the Woo Report before the Four Nations break. I predicted Timo Meier, he will be on fire. That has happened. He's driving to the net. He's doing all the little things right. I don't care if he scores or not. Keep driving to the net. Wear the defense down. It will free up all the guys like Bratt or Dawson Mercer or any of the Nason. All these guys are just ready to feed and get goals. And also, on top of that, with the three defensemen that are out, with Siegenthaler, Dougie Hamilton, and who's the other guy? I forgot. Luke Hughes is now proving himself to be a bona fide number one.
He looks special.
Oh, yeah. That Niedermeyer-esque way of defending. And I've seen him throw the body here and there, which is crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's been awesome.
Yeah.
There's no doubting he's taken a step since the Four Nations face-off.
Yeah.
Point per game defense.
And by the way, we still have the MVP of the New Jersey Devils, and that's Ellen Hughes. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep. All right. I think we should get to predictions, because everybody's been putting predictions like way in advance. So I'm like scrolling up, Vinny. Like it's crazy because let's see. Joey B says Devils 13-3, signed Sam Wu. I don't know what that's about, but that's a prediction. Joey B says 5-2. Oh no, he says Devils are 5-2 on the road. Anyway, what other predictions here? It's hard to scroll here because it's all over the place today. A Bads 4-2 Devils. Selected Boy says 4-1 Devils. Let's see here. 3-0 Devils says Wimpy.
Ooh.
Calling a shutout.
That would tie Markstrom for third in the league.
Let's see here. Tom just got to the Rock. Love you, Tom. Section 5.
Enjoy, Tom.
Yes. Let's see here. I'm seeing predictions here. Scroll. All right, here we go. I got to some more predictions. Let's see. Joseph Lennon says 5-1 Devils. Selected Boy, again, 4-1 Devils. Kennedy Ray says 6-3 Devs. Richard Slinko says 5-1 Jersey. RME says 3-0 Devils. Serve says 4-2 Devils. Timo time again and Nico. 6-1 Bruins says Joey Parise. The evil brother of Vinnie Parise. Has to be a troll. Has to bring it up. But you know what? He gets a pass because we had the best surprise podcast, birthday podcast in the history of podcasts when he helped out with no technical training when your crew in Chicago wished you a happy birthday as a surprise. You had no idea. And it was Joey Parise playing cameraman down at the venue. Just amazing.
He did host a hockey podcast for over a year, so
yeah,
he knows what he's doing. He also is seeing the worst Bruins team of his hockey watching life. So hopefully that continues tonight.
Yeah. And you know what? No offense, Joey. I hope that lasts for an eternity. Anyway, then you would know what it's like to be a Mets fan. Anyway, let's see here.
Well,
Max
he's a White
says,
Sox fan, so he's doing all right.
well, yeah, at least he's seen a championship, in 2005, I think the last time they won?
That is true.
I've been waiting since I was in 3rd grade, okay? I have to tell my wife about it.
Joey was in 3rd grade. I was in 5th.
Really? Oh, that tells you how old I am.
He was in 3rd grade.
Oh, jeez, that tells you my age.
Well, Joey's gonna get to your age without another White Sox World Series. So,
hey, you know what? Anyway, well, at least the Mets have Steve Cohen right now. I mean, when we had the coupons running the team,
coupons.
I used to cut coupons outside of Shea Stadium and bring them in, and then during the 7th inning stretch, I would throw it off the upper deck. All the coupons raining down.
That is truly funny.
Yeah, my younger cousin that I brought to him one game, Mets Yankees game at Shea Stadium, still remembers the day. I think he was only 10 years old, and I said, "Whatever happens at Shea stays at Shea." But he remembers that one. Max says
that's how it's got to be.
Max says Devils 4, Bruins 1. AJ Visco. The law offices of A.J. Visco. See a crack on the sidewalk and need some money? Call A.J. Visco. 3-2 Bruins since we can't get to 4 wins in a row. Good point. But A.J., I'm going to tell you, it's not how you start. It's how you finish. And the Devils are going to finish on top, surging. They talk about the storm surge in Carolina. No, we're going to talk about the New Jersey surge when they all put it together unexpectedly, without Jack Hughes, without Siegenthaler, without Dougie Hamilton, without the rest. And you're going to see Palat scoring.
Oh, especially in the playoffs and Holla.
Yeah, exactly. By the way, not to interrupt, because now we're in overtime. I thought we were going to do 10, 15 minutes, but now I'm blabbing. I have the season predictions back in October on the Let's Go Devils podcast, and Mrs. Wu, God love her, actually wrote it down because none of us knuckleheads decided to. She wrote it down. Who predicted what? Unfortunately, Shorts Guy was not on that podcast that day. I looked at it. I potentially can just completely just knock it all down with my predictions. Every single prediction.
I love that.
Yeah, I think I'm like 9-0. If it holds, like I need to have Palat stop scoring. I need to have a couple things right now, but I think I'm almost a lock where I got every single prediction right. So
5 games left.
Yeah. And I'm going to be like, Scotty. A lot of it had to do with injuries. So, especially with Jack Hughes, all that.
Yeah, of course.
All right. Let's see here. Beachmaster says 4-2 Devs. Now he says 4-1 Devs. Anthony LaPena says Devils will win in overtime 3-2. Tori, his daughter that I'm going to meet on Friday, meow meow, says Devils win 5-2. Good night, all. Bet is calling my name, LGD. Yes, the LaPena family from Kentucky traveling to the Rock and meeting the Let's Go Devils podcast on Friday. Now, I tell everybody that people come from all over the world to see the Let's Go Devils podcast. We've had people from Sweden, Switzerland, Australia, New Zealand see the podcast.
Wow. Yeah.
Everywhere. All right. So we are internationally syndicated podcast.
All over the world.
Number 1 Devils podcast in the country of India. Don't know how that happened, but it's true. You can look at the ratings. Yeah. Just happens.
I love that.
Yeah. All right. Your predictions, Vinny.
I believe the New Jersey Devils will beat the Boston Bruins 4-3.
4-3. I think the Boston Bruins players are playing for jobs next year, so I don't think it's going to be a shellacking.
Yeah, like the last time they played.
I think the Devils want to get over that hump to win 4 in a row. So I am also going to go with, but a little bit less, a 4-2 victory over the Boston Bruins. But it's going to be some late heroic stuff, and it's going to involve an empty netter. I think Nico Hischier is going to have 2 goals. I think he's striving to be at 40 by the end of the season.
That would be cool. That would be cool. He'd need to go on a little bit of a run, but it's possible. It's absolutely possible. I mean, a guy like Hischier's a guy you need to beat a team like the Bruins. I agree with you. I think the Bruins are going to play him hard. It's not just going to be a typical, shellacking of a good team against a bad team. They're going to play him hard. So I'm looking forward to it.
One of my favorite Devils fans, also an American hero, Dave Singer, is saying 6-2 Devils.
Ooh.
Yeah, he's an American hero. He served in the military. Amazing record. He was honored at the Prudential Center. Great guy.
Wow.
Great guy to hang out with at American Whiskey. And then he said, sorry, 6-1 Devils. Bet it this morning at plus 3,500. That's great.
Wow. Okay.
Hey, you know what?
Rooting for it.
You know what? I'm rooting for you, Dave Singer. I hope they
Absolutely.
win 12-1.
Me too.
Yeah, that'd be great. Lots of love in the air right now. Lots of love in the air.
It's springtime. The Devils are going to clinch a playoff spot today. Let's manifest it.
Yeah, and also we're planning stuff with American Whiskey for the playoffs. I know sometimes we're not there at American Whiskey. We've got a lot of things going on. Vinnie, Parise, and I, we've talked about it. We got a lot of family things going on. The Volanos have gotten things going on. Vinny's getting married. Beer Baron went back to school. He's going to get his doctorate in art. I know it. We're going to have to call him Dr. Beer Baron. Yeah,
that's amazing. Dr. Beer.
Dr. Beer. Yeah. Or Dr. Ann Crew.
I love that.
By the way, I got to talk to American Whiskey, get those Ann Crew brew cans out. Because, I think if we're going to put the big stage in the middle of Edison Place, I think we all have to have an Ann Crew brew in our hand.
Ann Crew brew.
No, wait, do it again.
Ann Crew brew.
Dr. Brew, says Steve Singer. Very nice.
Dr. Brew.
Very nice. Vinny from the MSG Chopper Cam. Yeah, by the way, also Rachel Herzog, MSG Networks, was hung out with her for a tiny bit. I was all starstruck. I couldn't talk to her for more than like 20 seconds because I was starstruck. It's amazing.
Very good.
We'll try to get her on the podcast. Gonna have to reach out, but
I
Vinny,
think she would.
Yeah, of course she would. Why wouldn't she? Because we are the most commented podcast in the history of New Jersey Devils podcasts.
Just tell her we're the most watched Devils podcast in India. She'll jump right in.
Oh, I know. And Switzerland, really. I mean, Switzerland, we've got good numbers in Switzerland, believe it or not. I think it has something to do with Nico Hischier.
Because we talk so nicely about Hischier, Meyer.
Yeah.
I mean, Siegenthaler. The Devils are the Swiss national team, basically.
Yeah. Plus, we need Swiss bank accounts here at the Let's Go Devils podcast, whatever that means. All right. We're going to get out of here. Devils After Dark after the games. Scotty of SiriusXM, Liquid Metal, and I will recap the game that was, and also Stated Fan Address tomorrow, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, pucksandpitchforks.com. Editor-in-Chief Nick Villano and I We'll be talking more Devils hockey. See you tonight, Devils Bruins. Till next time, let's go Devils.